Hey there, Angela Carole Brown here. As some of you know, I released a film short on Christmas Day 2020 based on a children's book I wrote and illustrated many years before that. And in 2021, it actually won a handful of film festival awards for Best Multimedia Film. I like to say it's an experience for children ages 8 to 108. So the reason I'm here today is because I've recently re-edited and remastered it, and I would love for you to check out this new and improved version. It's a story about the power of gratitude, something I've often struggled with in my own life. Therefore, I thought it was most apt to release this new version just in time for Thanksgiving. So, for those of you who saw it the first time around and left me wonderful reviews and personal messages of how it moved you, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I would love for you to see this new cut, and please share it around with friends and help me spread the word. And for those of you who have never heard of it before, I think you're in for a treat. I thank and appreciate you all for taking a moment out of your valuable time to check out my labor of love. Don't forget to click like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Help me take this to the moon. And now, please enjoy The Richest Girl in the World.
The old man had been walking for some time. He was a very old man, and he was hungry and cold. Yet he felt a peace within that shelter would be found soon. He walked in the marketplace and purchased a basket of plums, a loaf of warm bread, and a jar of honey. It was his last coin until morning. The sun had begun to sink behind the horizon, but the street was still busy. And as the city moved this way and that, the old man found comfort amongst the townsfolk. His feet began to hurt and his brow to sweat, but the old man was happy. The next day, the old man sat beneath a shady tree and basked in the warmth. This felt good and took away his shiver. He then peeled a plum and dipped his bread in the honey, and he was very, very happy. He closed his eyes and whispered a soft thank you that whistled across the wind.
Who are you talking to?
Asked a young girl passing, who had observed the old man's muttering.
Why, I'm talking to the wind.
The wind? That's a silly thing to do.
Is it? Why, I just saw the wind carry my thank you right up into the heavens, swirl it around like a grand ice cream cone, then sprinkle it like candy all across the universe. The universe likes a good thank you, you know. It makes him feel appreciated for all his hard work. The leftovers, of course, fall right back to Earth, and she appreciates it too.
The old man sat back in a hearty way as the young girl imagined a sky full of thank yous swirling like a cyclone.
Are you somebody's grandpa?
No, I don't have a family.
Why not? I thought everybody had a family.
Well, we all start out this journey with one, but sometimes we don't always end up with one. Why, do I remind you of your grandpa?
The young girl simply shrugged shoulders.
I don't remember my grandpa.
The young girl picked 2 plums from a nearby tree and handed one to the old man, and the two found delight in squeezing out tiny drops of juice from the fruit. Later, the old man decided to take a walk to settle his meal, and the young girl followed behind. The sky gradually grew to a dark purple, and a host of stars, like sparkly pebbles, danced across the heavens.
I'll bet those are some of your thank yous,
exclaimed the young girl, excited to take part in the old man's fancies.
I'll bet you're right.
It was as clear a night as any the old man had seen, and he shed a proper tear at the beauty of it all. The young girl tried hard to understand what moved her new friend so completely. She wanted to shed a tear too, so she squeezed her eyes as tightly as she could, but try as she might, no tears would come.
Feelings don't always come in tears. A good hearty laugh sometimes feels just as great, or simply to soak it all in and smile.
And the old man and the young girl smiled wide at the beauty of the universe, who, of course, smiled back. The young girl spotted a shore not far along and shouted in excitement. Taking the old man by the hand, she pulled as mightily as her tomboy arms could drag her tired friend to waters barely visible in the pitch of night. She dipped her toe and bade the old man do the same, and the young girl was happy.
What should we do now?
Well, my energetic friend, your parents are sure to be wondering where you are, so you shall return to your home. And I will now retire to my sleep under this bridge here to wait for the morning paddle boats.
The paddle boats? Why?
Because someday I'm going to take a ride on the sea.
The young girl was suddenly sad. She did not want to go home and leave her new friend, who seemed to have no one. She pleaded with the old man to let her stay a while, but the old man knew that somewhere in the village was a mother calling her child's name in worry. The old man looked at his little friend's face, almost hidden behind the day's dust.
Have a safe journey, my friend. We'll see each other again. And remember, the universe can always use a good thank you.
The old man smiled and was truly happy. With his own smile, he made the young girl smile, and they parted fulfilled.
You get home safely now.
The night remained tranquil for the old man, and the sea before him was still. He listened to the seagulls who sang him lullabies, and he thanked the peaceful wind for such a beautiful night. The next day, the old man awakened to a village of busy merchants. The morning rays shined upon the town, and the old man's lips were parched from sun and thirst, so he began his day. Again he walked in the marketplace, this time selling instead of purchasing. He offered to clean a young fisherman's catch in exchange for some coins. He helped carry bricks and mortar for a mason who was building a house. And he shined a wealthy woman's shoes for a kind piece of silver. His pockets began to fill, and soon a day's work would be done. Finally, after a long, taxing afternoon of labor, the old man strolled back to the docks and looked on his dream. Such a fine work of art, he thought, as he gazed on endless waters and watched the gulls flock for food. The sky was gold now and sprinkled nuggets of its reflection across the ocean bed. How magnificent it all was, thought the old man, and yet how unfortunate that most people did not bother to stop and notice a simple beauty. Their lives would be so much richer if they did. From a distance he could hear the glorious voices of young boys and girls singing to their day's chores. As the old man danced and pranced, shimmied and shuffled, he suddenly turned around to see his little friend from the day before, who had hidden under the bridge where they had parted.
My friend!
You look funny dancing like that.
And look at how much laughter it has given you.
The young girl was happy to see her old, new friend.
I've been waiting for you all day.
The old man explained to his youthful friend that he had been to the marketplace, and he spun for her adventurous tales of the day's events.
It sounds like such work to me.
Well, if one intends to eat and invite a friend to supper too, one must work for it. And there's where I've been.
I wanted to ride the boat with you. Did you do it? Did you ride on a boat?
Not today, my friend. Today I worked. Tomorrow I'll sail.
The old man was poor. That much was evident to the young girl. What she did not know yet, however, but would come to learn, was that the old man was rich in so many other ways. His appreciation for the beauty of a flower, his love for nature and animals, his joy at the sound of villagers singing. Such simple things made the old man, well, the richest in the world. Every day for years, the old man had walked the marketplace and earned his meals, and every day for years, he had dreamed of sailing on the sea. He dreamed of riding on a boat far out from shore to a place only the sun and stars had glimpsed. He dreamed of standing on the bow and calling out to the waves.
Hey, waves!
Hey, how you doing, old dude?
Hi there. The young girl watched her elder friend lose himself in his dreams.
Snap out of it, old man. Pretending is fun and all, but what are you waiting for? The boats are right there.
I have no money. All that I earn goes for my dinner, and that which I manage to save is stolen by thieves.
The old man looked sad, but not so much for his own plight as for that of those who felt they needed to rob others to be fulfilled. The young girl was unsure what to feel about the old man's hardship. She had seen homeless before. She saw how they tended to be stepped over by people hustling and bustling, or shooed away from the marketplace, or harassed by men and women in uniform employed with keeping the streets orderly. It made her sad to consider the old man having to endure people's uncaring behavior. As the young girl realized that her mind had wandered, she saw that the old man was still talking about the thieves who sometimes robbed him.
If they would only take the time to watch a sunset, or a grasshopper feeding on a blade of grass, or a newborn baby smiling, they would realize they are already rich. I have all of that. So do you, my young friend. I see the way you look at the world around you, the beauty that you see, your voracious curiosity to learn and to discover, and what touches your heart. I see.
The young girl was deeply moved by how effortlessly her elderly friend could find beauty and wonder and happiness in spite of his circumstances. She was also moved that he saw it in her.
Do you feel like the richest girl in the world?
He suddenly asked.
Because, my dear, you are.
Together they skipped rocks and collected seashells. And suddenly the young girl grinned the grandest smile.
Look, old man, it's our sunset.
The young girl cried, and the old man cried.
Those thieves don't know what they're missing.
Marveled the young girl, who was just happy that she even had a good cry in her. She placed her skinny arms around the old man to protect him from the cold, as they sat facing a shimmering orange sky, and they were very, very happy. The next morning brought a heavy rainstorm. The old man would not see his little friend today, who was surely with her family in a warm, dry house. It had been some time since the old man had had a house of his own to keep him warm and safe. He could not earn money for his meals today because all of the shops and businesses had closed up for the storm. The old man was wet and cold. Today he would not eat. Today he could only crouch beneath the bridge to protect himself from the harsh elements. Many, many days like this one passed, and the old man became weak. He had not eaten in several days now because there was no work to be offered. He began to trudge through the town until he could trudge no further. After a while, he no longer even thought about the sea. All he wanted now was to be warm and dry. He knew that if he did not find shelter soon, he might die. Though, when he really thought about it, death did not much frighten the old man, because he had lived a very long and a very happy life, full of wonder, full of blessings, full of gratitude. He thought about his new little friend. He thought of all the possibilities that she still had ahead of her to do and to be something great in the world, and of all the possibilities for a remarkable journey that every young person had ahead of them. He'd had so many of his own in his long life. Adventures and discoveries that would be his forever. Even his present held treasures and gifts abounding. The old man wept with joy until he fell asleep. Then he slept for a long, long, long time. Then the rains finally stopped. A fresh yellow sun appeared. The old man lifted his eyelids onto the most breathtaking sight he had ever beheld. He saw the earth newly baptized, anointed with fruit and grains. He saw miles and miles of vineyards reaping a bountiful harvest. The rain had been a gift. The old man watched excitedly as the villagers came out from their homes and danced with celebration. He might have danced with them, but was too caught up in the sight of such a dazzling sky. After a while, however, the old man could no longer sit still. He was so moved by the beauty of it all that in spite of his weakness and his hunger, he ran through the vineyards as fast as his old legs could take him. They may have trembled and warbled a bit, but after a moment, he finally got his steady footing out of sheer power of spirit. Soon he came upon the dock and saw the boats. They had all been washed and cleaned by the rain and were shinier and more magnificent than he had ever seen them. He stared for a very long time.
Oh, these are likely my last days to breathe this wondrous air,
believed the old man.
My little friend is right. What am I waiting for? All my days I have worked hard. Today, I am going to ride.
He strolled right past men and women whose attentions were on their own prospering, climbed onto the port of a small unattended raft, and began to sail. This was the moment he had dreamed of his entire life. It was the grandest day he had ever lived. The old man was overcome with a feeling of bliss. He threw his arms up and shouted a host of thank yous so huge and so loud that those thank yous floated right up into the sky and tickled the clouds until the clouds laughed outright. He sailed for hours atop 10 leagues of water. and soon a flock of seagulls soared by to clap and cheer the old man's triumph. They sang him beautiful songs as he watched the clashing of mighty waters against jagged cliffs. Fish of every kind swam beneath him, and birds of every sort flew above him, and they all made him a king.
We hail you, Emperor Elder of the Patriarch
Thank you, my loyal and devoted subjects.
Cooed the old man, whose chest began to swell with jubilance. And yet, all at once, even with the glory of the mysterious sea before him, more spectacular than he could conjure in his dreams, he felt something missing from his remarkable journey, and suddenly the old man was lonely. The image of his new little friend's grubby, smiling face slowly began to spread across the sky as the old man realized that he wanted to share this incredible experience with his spirited and curious young friend, her whole family, too. It was, after all, she who had encouraged him to finally take his boat ride in the first place. He knew how much his young friend had searched so to find beauty. He had already suspected that perhaps she had few friends, if any. The world can be an unforgiving place when you dare to be unique. And his new little friend, with her tomboy ways and easy smile and pure heart, was unique indeed. And this moment simply wasn't the same alone.
Wake up! Wake up, old man! You've been asleep a long time! Please wake up!
The old man suddenly awakened, startled and confused. He looked about and saw that everything around him was the same as it had always been.
You mean it was a dream?
Whispered the old man to himself.
It was all just a dream?
The young girl did not understand her friend's mutterings.
I was afraid you were sick. I couldn't find you for so many days.
Despite being somewhat disoriented, the old man was so happy to see his friend that he could not even speak a word. He simply smiled at the miracle of his life. The young girl stood before him with a basket of plums, a warm loaf of bread, and fresh fish she had caught herself from the banks of an inland river. Instantly, the old man looked upon the rich meal with suspicion and disappointment.
Why did you get such a feast? Did you steal this?
The young girl's eyes grew wide with surprise.
Have you become a thief, like the ones who steal my coins? I am so very disappointed.
But the young girl had not stolen the food, and she was quite smart indeed. She had been so inspired by her old friend's tales of the merits of honest labor that she had begun collecting sea glass and stringing them together to make beautiful pieces of jewelry to sell in the marketplace. She had been at this project for days and had saved her earned coins in a pouch, which she hid under her mattress. She stood up tall and remarked in a deep voice, imitating her old friend's very own words.
If one intends to eat and invite a friend to supper too, then one must work for it, and there's where I've been.
She winked and smiled at her old friend, who lowered his head in shame.
I am truly sorry I doubted you.
And the old man knew that the young girl had just taught him as valuable a lesson as the one he had taught her. The old man was humbled and truly, truly proud. Together they walked along the shore until they found a perfect spot to dine. They sat on a quiet hill and spread out their fine meal. The old man began to tell the story of his marvelous fantasy on the sea and described the images so vividly that the young girl imagined she was there herself and could almost hear the sounds and smell the smells. They laughed and they cried joyously. They ate their fruit and drank fresh milk in abundance, and they lost themselves happily in stories of the sea. Stories that the young girl would end up writing about in books, inspired by her old friend who would live forever in them.
So when are you gonna write a book?
Maybe someday.
Maybe? What do you mean by maybe?
Oh, don't get me wrong, my friend. It's wonderful to have dreams. Even more wonderful when we can make those dreams come true. But I do think that sometimes we can get so wrapped up in tomorrow that we end up living there, completely neglecting to notice the extraordinary right here and the equally extraordinary right now. I mean, look at this moment you and I have before us. This fine food you earned for your labors. This beautiful sky above us. The blessed communion of friends. Is there anything better in the world?
And the young girl smiled and shook her head in agreement with her wise old friend.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
The younger made the older laugh easily.
Hey, does this make us rich?
It most certainly does.
I'm the richest girl in the world!
Indeed you are, my friend.
Together they watched an immortal sunset. Together they ate a delicious feast. Together they whispered soft thank yous to Mother Earth and Father Sky for all the wonders of the world. Of course, Mother Earth and Father Sky whispered back, "You're quite welcome." And so they danced and pranced and shimmied and shuffled until their feet were sore. And then they simply shimmied and shuffled a little bit more.